We have discussed from time to time the idea of parallel realities, and that the concept of you experiencing time is actually your consciousness shifting through billions of different versions of Earth, billions of different parallel realities every single second, and by doing so, creating this illusion you call time and space and change. But we have also begun to remind you that as you now recognize many different people think in one way, and other people think and believe in another way, and others and others and others, you are beginning to see what appears to be a divided culture, polarization, all sorts of very opposing opinions, and so on and so forth. But you're seeing far more than that. The idea is that you're actually beginning to see the splitting physically, not metaphorically anymore, the splitting physically into different parallel reality tracks. We have used the analogy before of different train tracks leaving a station. And if you are on one train, you may still be able to look across and see the other train that is leaving the station next to you, but eventually those tracks will diverge. And over time, you will find that it will be more of a challenge to see the other trains on the other tracks, or even reach those other trains, and eventually you will no longer see them at all. You'll be in your own reality experience, only experiencing the things that are relevant for the train that you are on. Now, the idea is that this split has now begun to happen physiologically. You may not immediately recognize this because you can still see what's going on the other trains. You can still see that there are people who are vibrating at different frequencies from you that are vibrationally incompatible with what you may be experiencing or prefer to experience in your reality. Nevertheless, just because you can still see them doesn't necessarily mean that you actually are existing physically in the same reality. At this particular moment in the split, it is transparent enough and close enough in frequency that you can still perceive other parallel realities, but you have actually started to diverge physiologically into different parallel time tracks. The symbol that represents this idea in the cosmos with the stars and the planets has been scientific discoveries that you have made in recent times. The first one of significance being that your astronomers discovered what you would call a relatively Earth-like planet around your closest star, Proxima Centauri, that could possibly support life as you understand it. The idea of your search for Earth-like planets is part and parcel of your consciousness understanding that you are splitting into different parallel versions of Earth. So it's reflected by the fact that the first one you've discovered is around the next closest star to you, and that right there, as soon as you discovered and recognized that idea, was the beginning of the actual physical split into different Earths. But you started with the idea of yours and that one. So immediately you created the idea of two completely separate, different parallel time tracks, parallel reality experiences of the idea of an Earth. As many of you know, however, more recently, your astronomers have reported that they discovered another star system, what you call a red dwarf by the name of TRAPPIST-1, that actually has, amazingly enough, 7 Earth-like planets orbiting it. That's a very rare find. And the fact that you actually found it that quickly is another indication of the timing of the splitting into parallel realities. And so you went then from 2 all of a sudden to 9, including the 7, the one around Proxima Centauri, and your own. So now you have a cosmic reflection of the fact that the split into parallel realities is now inclusive of 9 different parallel tracks. This will continue as you discover more and more Earth-like planets around other stars. That will continue to represent and symbolize energetically and reflectively the idea of the actual physical splitting into different parallel tracks. And as this gains momentum, you will begin to experience more of the physical results of that split. being able to know that you can accelerate in the direction that you prefer to experience and experience over time less and less and less of those parallel tracks that contain realities you don't prefer to experience. Again, this may take a little time, but that's all right. We're simply letting you know that what's going on now is beyond metaphor, is beyond something that's just happening as a concept. It is actually now physically splitting, even though you may not immediately be able to see that. The signs that it is truly happening physically will also grow stronger over time. Now, remember, again, it doesn't matter so much what's happening in the realities that you can still see and perceive. It really matters most what you do with that, how you respond to that, even if it doesn't appear to be changing outwardly. So the idea that we gave you before about the fact that perhaps prior to the great changes that happened in your fall of 2016, you felt like maybe you were floating down a little peaceful stream. And then suddenly, as those changes occurred in an unexpected way, you found yourself being jostled by rapids. But as we have said, if you learn how to ride the rapids, if you learn how to balance yourself and go through the rapids in a balanced way, you will actually be able to get downstream much, much faster than originally you would have. So the idea also is coupled with the fact that since what happened for so many people was tremendously unexpected, it allows you to go within your mind, well, if that could happen, if something that unexpected could happen, anything can happen. All bets are off, as you say in your city. And therefore, you can now use the idea of the unexpected to your advantage to know that if that can happen, then anything that I'm dreaming of that's true for me can also happen. So you can use that energy, even though it may be representative to many people of things they don't prefer, you can use that energy to accelerate you in the direction that you do by letting go of how it appears and just using the momentum that it has caused and the breakout that it has caused, breaking from the status quo that it has caused, to know that now you are actually more free than before to create the reality experience that you prefer, and the reflection in the cosmos of all the different Earth-sized planets you are now discovering are a reflection that you have started that physical split. And the more you stay in the energy and the state of being that you prefer to be, and the more you act from that state in your life, and the more you define everything that happens in your life in a way that allows you to extract a positive and beneficial effect from it, the sooner and stronger you will experience the physicality of the splits into the different parallel realities that we are now discussing with you. And you will see things changing within your world in ways you couldn't have imagined before, in ways you never would have thought could actually occur. But you will see an acceleration in this between now, specifically, your years of 2020. There will be many different things going on. If you take advantage of them in all the ways your imagination can, in positive ways, you will find that by the end of that period, you're going to be in a very different place in your lives, a place that would be more reflective and more conducive to experiencing your truth, your preference, in the way that you know is aligned with your core essential being. So, in looking to these reflections and paying attention to the discoveries that you're making in the outer reality reflection, you can then gauge what is really going on within the collective consciousness and even within your own individual consciousness as you become more and more aware of these symbols reflecting these ideas to you. Is this making sense to you? Yes. All right. So please have fun with it. Don't worry. Don't react to the things that you don't prefer, because remember, even if something crops up in your life you don't prefer, it's still there for a reason you can use in a positive way. Make it part of your excitement that things crop up you don't prefer, because it's going to give you an opportunity to see, by contrast, what it is you do prefer more clearly. That's how to use that in a positive way, instead of simply matching the vibration of what you don't prefer by moping about it. The idea is nothing affects you until you agree to be affected. You are changing your own energy to match the frequencies of things you believe are true. So watch your definitions and create new definitions that work for you instead of just assuming that the ones that don't work for you are facts that you cannot change. The only facts that exist in your creation are the 5 facts we call the 5 laws. You exist, everything is here and now. The one is all, the all are one. What you put out is what you get back. Everything changes except the laws. Everything else other than those facts are not facts. They are perspectives, they are opinions, they are beliefs. And you can change every single one of those. Make sense? All right.